Does using technology actually change our brains?
Well, I think it must actually, mustn't it? It just must, because learning to read and write changes your brains. It changes your memory, doesn't it?
Mm.
And well, it's well known. You know, taxi drivers in London who get the knowledge. I just
Mm.
feel like any people don't know what the knowledge is. So, for people who drive the traditional black cabs in London,
Yeah.
have the knowledge, which takes usually about 2 or 3 years, which means that they spend all those time driving around London until they just know the streets,
Yep.
until they just know
Mm. Yeah,
where
they're
curves.
using the force.
Yes, yeah, and it actually changes their brains. It changes whatever it bit in the brain spatial capacity. It actually gets bigger. It changes it, and
Yeah.
actually but actually, so one of the worrying findings about our use of technology is actually in terms of spatial orientation, because this is quite initial research, but there's some indications that say reliance upon sat navs and using Google Maps is actually helping to decrease our capacity to orient ourselves in space. And actually, although dementia manifests itself in varying degrees, one of the first manifestations of dementia
It's not
is
knowing where you are.
spatial orientation.
Yeah.
So in terms of changing our brains, I'm absolutely certain it will. And this is completely anecdotal, but I also suspect that the lockdown has had a terrible effect, because I've noticed now that we're starting to open up a bit, and I've had friends coming to visit me. I've moved since people first knew me. I think have people completely lost the capacity to follow directions. I can't believe it. I can't believe how
Yeah,
bad
look, it wasn't the quaint English thing. It was like, right, now I want you to turn right up here and then take the second right? You with, like, it wasn't, you weren't kind of like doing like that.
yeah.
Respectfully, doctor, you do strike me as one of those direction givers. I mean, in a totally respectful kind of way.
Well, I send people anyway, yeah. But that's just an example. I'm sure it'd be changing our brains. I'm sure it also changes how we perceive each other, doesn't it? So
Mm.
it changes how we interact with people.
Yeah, and it's funny how we've got the, like you said, sometimes this technology which was invented to unite us is doing the direct opposite, and systems which are supposed to which are supposed to prevent these things are delivering the absolute direct opposite and marginalizing, and unintentionally. It's just the nature of, systemizing things
Yes,
here. Like, directly the opposite is happening, and it's
yes,
so funny. Like that observation that you made earlier with the algorithms. It's like, well, okay, hate speech against minorities. So we're going to look at that. It's okay to call gingers names. It's okay to call Australians names. It's okay. You can't say this about African Americans or, anyone else. But they're the people that are inadvertently targeted most by the
yes, yes,
algorithm.
yeah. And in terms of like how it's changing us, so things are opening up more around here. One of the things that's happened is, of course, that lots of because I don't know if you know about this, but Britain doesn't necessarily have the greatest weather, so we haven't traditionally had so many cafes with tables outside. But now, of course, they've all got tables outside because you've had to be outside,
Yeah.
and people are opening up more. But one of the things I was thinking, actually getting my camera and just going around London taking photographs of people who are now at last able to meet up with their friends sitting outside at a cafe or a restaurant on their phone while their friend is sitting opposite on their phone.
It's like, no, you know,
What?
again, it's totally, it's strange how these things, like, there really is a nexus, and you and Jonathan Peugeot discussed this idea of tools taking over the person.
Yes.
It's
Completely.
it's yeah.
What's going? What's what is going on?